In this section, we'll be working on the page called Fence and Flowers. Sometimes I call it Flowers and Fence. I get mixed up. So this one has, for its background, this paper is called Posy Patch. I guess this side is the Posy Patch side, but we will be using the blue checked as our background. And then this page is unique because it does not have a die cut for the second panel. What I'm planning to do here is, and it may take two of these Secret Garden feature papers, we'll see, is that the panel that's in the front will have the fence cut out, and then the next panel behind that will have this like an arbor of the flowers here. This would be cut out so that you can see the blue check background. And I think I'm going to put the little girl on that panel, I think I'm going to use this one from the cut aparts instead of this larger girl that's here, just to push her back into the background a little bit. So that's what we're going to try to do for this panel. We're probably going to need for this, when we do this background one, we'll have to take some cream cardstock and extend it, because the second panel is 6 3/4 inches from the center fold line, and as we know, this is only 12 inches across. So we will work that out, and hopefully it will be seamless. And yeah, so I'll be back when I've done some cutting and we can start assembling this page. I've done some cutting on that main sheet, and the first thing I did was to cut out the fence down here at the bottom, and I did cut in between all the little pickets. This is going to be the front panel on this page, so let's set that aside because it's done. Now, I've also cut, when I cut around the fence, I cut out a couple of groups of flowers to have on hand. So I'm just going to put those to the side. And let's look at this top section. This is going to be our second panel. I'm not sure if this key is going to be too delicate or not. I figured I'd cut it out, and then if it is, then I can always cut it off later. Now the second panel has to be 6 3/4 inch wide, and then it also has an inch extension on each side. So this is not quite wide enough. So let's see how we can extend that. First I'm going to make a base, and I'm just using some cream cardstock, and I've cut two pieces that are 7 3/4 inch wide by 7 1/2 inches tall, and that would be the outside dimensions that you see here. And then I cut a space out of the middle. This top is 15/16, the bottom is also 15/16, and this side is 2 3/4 inches. So 2 3/4 inches on the side. When I did the 2 3/4, I also, and I don't think that this is going to show up on the camera, there's a pencil line at 1 inch, and they're coming in from the edge, and a pencil line at 1 3/4. And then I just temporarily have attached them with some tape in the back. So this is what we need to work on. Now our panel only has to come out to it hangs back an inch from each side. So the two sides are 6 3/4. So if we put this piece that we have on here and line it up with these lines, you'll see that we have to make up about 3/4 of an inch on either side. I also am seeing a little white behind here right now, but I'm not worrying about that to begin with. Now, when I cut this piece out, I ended up with this big section. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these flowers to make the extensions on these sides. And then we'll camouflage them, if necessary, with some other flowers. So in order to do that, I'm going to take this piece and basically cut a straight line, approximately dividing this in half. I'm just going to cut right down that edge. So that gives me two pieces like this. And from those two pieces, what I can do, if I bring this back in here, is I can use these, line up this straight edge with that 3/4 inch line, and fussy cut back to cover up this hard edge here. Either fussy cut on here or do some on this side, so that we'll end up with something that can come out to our lines on both sides. So I'm going to work on that, and then I'll be back and we can see what our next step is. Okay, I hope you can see what I've done here. What I decided to do was to fussy cut the edges on the main panel piece on both sides, so they have very irregular edges. And so now they will stay in the forefront, and I can stick these pieces in behind here and then trim them to where they need to go, so they can hide behind or poke out a little bit, you know, either way. And this is working pretty well. There's down here, you might not be able to see, there's only one little white spot that's showing through, and I can either cut the background back, or I can put a little flower on there as well. So I'm going to trim these fill-in pieces so that they will fit appropriately, and then I'll be back for us to look at the next step. I've finished trimming my sides, and before I go to attach it down to this support piece, I also cut a piece just of the blue paper, just to fill in with something similar down here at the bottom. Now I'm going to have some flowers and things down here, so most of this won't show, but it does give it that kind of same look and covers up the white paper. I also, let me flip this over, you can see I did some trimming on the edges on this side a little bit more than on this side, just so that everything would cover up properly. So let's stick this strip down, and then we'll glue down the sides and we'll see what's next. Put these pieces out of the way. Okay, and so next, I just have these on with some little temporary tape. Next I'm going to glue these side pieces on. I'm going to make sure I stay so that I can see that 1-inch line. I don't want to go past it. Now I can see just a little bit of white showing here, so I'm going to take a moment and trim that. Every time I think I've cut this back far enough, it always needs just one more little haircut. So now take your time to get it right. Okay. Let's see what we got. Okay, that's good now. So I'm just going to kind of draw a little line up here so that I know where to put my glue. Let's see, maybe I'll put a piece of score tape right on this edge here, I think. Now I grabbed some pretty wide stuff, but it doesn't matter. And just come in here and put a bead of glue around that edge. Okay. Let's do the same thing over on this side. Put a piece of score tape on the edge. Flip this guy up out of the way. Okay, lining that up just this side of that 1-inch line. I have to put some patty paper down, so I got a little glue on my mat. Now we're ready to put this piece down. I'm just checking the edges. I can see right here I've got a little bit poking out still, so let me give that just a more little haircut on this side. That's good. So, let's see how we're going to glue this. So up here along the top, we can put a band of score tape that comes across the top, and then come along and glue, I think we'll put glue on the background, so we'll put glue on, let me get a piece of paper so you can see this. I'm going to put glue underneath this outside edge, and then glue along this edge on the inside, and we'll have score tape at the top. So let's put the score tape on first. This upside down. I just have that hinged on there so I know where it goes with a piece of removable transparent tape. So I'm just going to come in here, think about like that. Okay. And then I said that it would be, the glue would go on this edge and this edge. So let's do one side of this at a time, I think would be wise. So I'm going to just fold that tape backing back to there. Actually, I think I'll just cut it off so it's not in my way. And then I'm going to put glue along this edge. And then glue along this edge. Excuse me. Put a little bit of glue there. Oh, I guess the score tape was there. Didn't really need that. If I press too hard, let me put a couple little patty papers underneath here. Okay, I need a little bit more glue underneath down at this end. Okay, that came out pretty well. Alright, let's switch over to this side. I think I'll work upside down here. So we'll remove our score tape. Or tape backing, I should say. And then here, again, we'll put the glue on this outside edge. And this inside edge. Doesn't need to go all the way down there. I need to sneak a little glue right underneath this corner as well. Okay, this is coming along pretty well. I think by the time we get it finished, you won't even know that it was kind of put together. Sometimes we need to do this in order to get the elements that we want. And I'm just going to come and trim a little bit of this excess off up here at the top. And I can remove my pieces of transparent tape that I had holding this together on the back. Okay, let's see about the little girl. And we're going to put our fence up here and see what's going on. Let's fold this in half first. This has been pre-creased, so it should come nicely in half here, and it does. So the opening in the fence is just past the halfway mark. And here's the crease for the halfway mark. So we want to put the little girl so she comes over in this area. Let's see what she's going to look like if we do that. So, and I think I'd like to attach her head up to these flowers just to give it a little more stability. So if we do that, then we can bring in some of our extra flowers. And you can see I've just cut up around here because I'm not quite sure where I was going to cut there. I could bring some flowers in over here, or they could come, these flowers could come over here and the key could get supported. Underneath there. And I have some extra flowers here, so let me look around and experiment a little bit. Here's some daisies. Here's some more little daisies. A big group of roses. I don't know if we need that, but here's one little rose. And then maybe a couple of little daisies just back there. So I think that will work. I'm going to do a little cutting and then we will come back and see what's going on. Okay, I'm back and I'm ready to attach these elements, the little girl and some little flowers to go down here in the bottom. Now I have this aligned so that right here on my mat is where the fold line is going to be. So where I've cut this edge of the piece that has the little girl, I'm holding that back from the fold line at least a 1/16 of an inch. And that way it won't get caught up in there when this panel folds. And then also I can get her little head to attach to those flowers up there, give it more stability. And then I've kept this little bow down here so that will show. Maybe I think I'm going to trim right along this little pretty edge down here. Yeah, that's better. That I trimmed right along the kind of curvy edge of the here, I'll put it here and you can see where I cut along the curvy edge of that decorative thing that's there. So a little glue on the top of her head here, and then let me make a couple little tick marks so I can see where I'm going to put glue. Oh, there's a nice little guideline on the back of this girl. Come in here, put some glue there. Glue up on her head. And stick a piece of patty paper behind here. Got that in there nice and firmly. So over in this corner, I think there's going to be a rose going here and some daisies. So let's put this rose in first. And then these little daisies. Attach them up here and back around here. It still has some nice little places for the blue sky to poke through. And then over on this side, I think I'll tuck these flowers back behind a little bit. Of course the key, let's bring that out here to the front. That key isn't showing up really well. Let's see if I can get some ink on the edge there. Put a little gathered twigs on this edge here. Oops, about broke them. Be careful. It's pretty fragile. Hopefully that'll show up there. Tuck this in behind here. So I'm going to put glue on the edge behind. Pick this up. Think about like that. Then we'll put some glue like down in here. Get this key. Just would like to have something that camouflages that post. I don't care so much if the fence shows a little bit, but just so that, you know, we're having the illusion that the fence is in front of her. So that big post, put something just on top of that. These little blue flowers will do it. And then we can stick these down in here. I want to make sure that this center section especially is pretty solid because it's going to fold right there. So anything that's overlapping we want stuck on pretty well. Down here these guys aren't on yet. Alright, let's see what we got here. I'm going to turn this over and let it dry for a second and then I'll be back. Okay, I made my back panel while that panel number 2 was drying. I think it's good enough so we can get a look at what it's going to be like. And then our fence will come here and be the front panel. And that will be the central panel in the star book. So there we go.